who does someone need to become? Like if I own one location of a business and I go, I want to build something that Bedros has. I want to build this empire, this portfolio of businesses. What needs to happen to go from here to here?
That's a good question. And so I get that question often, like, who does someone need to become to be able to build an empire, to be able to lead teams, to be able to have big vision? It's not necessarily what you have to add to yourself.
How do you manage family life with all the businesses?
It's hard, man. I think most guys struggle with this. And the biggest advice and this is literally why I wrote The Wealthy Way. It's because I kept being asked this question. How do you run all these businesses and still have time for family and go to church and, stay in shape and play golf? Like, how? And so I was like, well, it's not as hard as you guys would think. It's really...
All right, so this was one of the most life-changing experiences that I've ever had. And you want more out of life. You want to be more successful. You want to make more money. You want to travel more. You want to just experience more of your dreams. You want to be an entrepreneur. You have a business. You want to grow it. I think you get a lot of value from this video. I got to sit down with two mentors that I've been watching, learning from for years now. So, one is Ryan Pineda. Ryan has done over $50 million of sales in his online businesses. He's done over $100 million of real estate transactions between flipping properties, wholesaling properties. He's got, somewhere close to 400,000 subscribers on YouTube. He sat down with some of the biggest names that you would watch in the business world and just kind of online space. And then you got Bedros. Bedros founded Fit Body Bootcamp, built it up to hundreds of franchise locations. He's the owner of multiple different multi-million-dollar businesses. He's been on the Tom Bilyeu podcast. He's been on the School of Greatness. I mean, he's got almost 800,000 subscribers on YouTube. So just two giants in the world of business. And so what this video is really my kind of like a day in the life of me taking the trip from Florida to LA to Vegas and being able to sit down with those guys and learn from those guys and what that experience was like. And so the first half of this video is me in my Airbnb in LA, and I had some team meetings that day. So it's just really sharing some of my experiences and just knowledge from having 9 failed businesses from the ages of 18 to 27 to, over the last 6 or 7 years doing, close to $5 million in sales with my different businesses, with the current business getting ready to hit $1 million this year, which is super exciting. And I failed a lot. And I almost gave up on my goals and my dreams of being an entrepreneur. Hopefully this video will provide some insight to you, just a window into my life and some of the mistakes that I've made, and then hopefully you get to benefit from it. And again, the last half of the video is me sitting down with those guys and kind of what I learned and experienced. And we'll tell you about kind of how this whole thing came about, as well as how it wound up turning out to be a $120,000 trip, which wasn't intended to be that. But we'll talk about it more. See you there. Later on, we'll tell you how this all came about, how I got connected with Bedros, how I got connected with Ryan. It's actually not what you expect, and meeting with these people of these caliber. So yeah, I'm just pumped. Let's go. I'm pumped. We're here in Cali, and I'm getting ready to do a podcast with Bedros Keullian. He wrote the book Man Up, and just a big name. I've been watching his stuff for a long time now. So this is a dream come true. I'll tell you the story later on how we'll end up landing this podcast. And actually, while we're here, we're then going to fly to Vegas tomorrow to do a podcast with Ryan Pineda, who's another big name, another guy that I've been watching for years. So this is like, I'm like pinching myself. This is crazy. Like for years, I literally somewhere, I have to find it, but I wrote down somewhere that I'm doing podcasts with, and I wrote down people's names. Like I'm so curious to find it now. Yeah, Bedros talks about how, so he has a franchise company that has hundreds of locations, and he talks about how there was a point where his business was failing and he had to hire like contract consultants and paying them $20,000 a month, and he was going in debt to hire them. And so that's the crazy thing about entrepreneurship, is that there's no finish line. There's no finish line. So it's easy to endure the pain when you know like what the finish line is, but there's no guarantee. Like, at the end of a workout, if you're running a race, you're like, all right, if I just push myself for 2 more miles and you're running a marathon, like, I'm going to cross the finish line. That's not how entrepreneurship is. You could push yourself and still not get to the finish line, which is pretty jacked up when you think about it. So yeah, I just feel like I'm in these moments where just making like crazy investments into the business, but this is when you level up. Let's go. One of the things that I've been terrified to do, I had this idea for a domain where I negotiated the price of this domain name, but it's gonna be $4,000. And then you got to pay GoDaddy a 20% commission. So $4,800 for one domain. I've been delaying, procrastinating. And basically the people at GoDaddy are like, all right, you have to buy it now or the deal is done. It just shows that no matter what stage you get in entrepreneurship, I mean, I remember when I'd be scared to make a $400 decision, the numbers just get bigger. The fear doesn't go away. All right, so I got an email from the guy at GoDaddy. He said, I wanted to follow up regarding this payment. The seller has expressed their concerns as to the viability of this transaction. Basically, he's saying, get off the pot, dude. You gotta buy this thing or else you cannot have it anymore. $4,800 domain purchase. I'm ready to pay. Well done. That's it. It's done. It's done. I've been delaying, you know how long? 11 days, which is crazy. This is the advice I give people is like, that's when your competition crushes you. That's when things don't work out, when you delay and procrastinate like that. So, but it just shows that there's levels. So, I started this business that we have, Franchise Empire, about 3.5 years ago. I think the biggest month that we've done so far, we've done, I think like $135,000 in sales in a month. But the temptation is to compare like to other people. You see someone else, you're like, oh, why? I did $100,000 a month in sales, and that person's doing $200,000 a month. That person's doing $500,000 a month. There's a really good book. I've been reading these books by Dan Sullivan and Benjamin Hardy. This one's called The Gap and the Gain. And so the idea is that, for high achievers, they're often never happy. They're never satisfied. And what that creates is great results where you never feel happy. Like you're always comparing yourself to other people. You're always thinking, I'll be happy once I get to this point. And the whole concept of this book is instead of measuring yourself against the gap between where you are now and where you want to be, is to measure yourself from the gain, where you are now to where you came from. In doing that, it creates more happiness. It creates more satisfaction. But I struggle a little bit with the concept overall because I think if you feel satisfied, well, you still have that hunger to keep going. I don't know. I haven't figured it out yet. Some crazy things happening. So, what's interesting is I wrote down this vision. Now, one of the crazy things I put on there is that I want to have a TV show. And just a wild thing, and to just expose people to franchise owners that are successful and that have achieved success. And so lately I've been getting all these requests to go speak in public now and to do stuff. Super exciting. I'm in the process of putting in my application to become a Forbes contributor. It's just crazy how many leaps of faith and how many times you have to spend, you have to put in before you get. You have to sow before you reap, right? You have to plant the seeds, before you can experience the fruit. And so just to give you an idea, I reached out to someone at Forbes. I'm like, what does it take? I want to become a contributor. I want to talk about franchises. They let me know what it takes. 4 months went by. Guess how much progress I made on it? Nothing. And that's where I think the identity thing really, the opportunity can be right in front of your face and you don't do anything about it because you don't believe that you can achieve it. And so your belief, your subconscious belief of what you think you're capable of will literally sabotage your success. Basically, they need a resume and they need some articles that have been published. So I just decided to take some of our videos. So there's all these actions. Like I'm already like $1,500 in, and I don't even know if it'll work. But in my mind, I know it will. Like in my mind, I just have this belief that it's going to happen. I've already written it, documented it, and then what's crazy is the other day, last week, I got an email from someone from CNBC Make It saying that they wanted to do a feature video on me and franchising, and which is like an absolute dream come true. And you have to act as if, and you have to make a decision and take that leap of faith that the parachute will open when you jump. Here's the crazy part, right? Here's the metaphor, is that if you're about to go jump off the cliff, right? In order for the parachute to open, you have to jump. Like, it literally will not open with you standing on the edge of the cliff. And that's the crazy part. I feel like I'm at this moment in my business right now. You know, Bruce Lee talks about like there's levels of growth, and you grow and then you plateau and then you grow and then you plateau. I'm in this weird moment where I'm being tested with a bunch of really big decisions that quite honestly are terrifying. They're terrifying. So Bedros, in his book, Man Up, he was talking about how there was a point where he realized that his company wasn't getting the results he wanted because he sucked at being a leader. And I think most of us aren't born as natural leaders, you know? And it's been something that in order for us to accomplish our goals, you to accomplish your goals, it takes a team. What's that phrase? If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And so I'm just super grateful. I think for me, like our all team meeting is like one of the highlights of the week. Just being able to see everyone on the team's face and hear from them and just what they're doing and accomplishing and the growth. It's super exciting, but ultimately the best way to build a business is to grow your leadership. And there was a point where I was like, oh, I suck as a leader. I'm not clear communicating, not setting clear expectations. And I think ultimately the hardest thing to do is accept as a business owner or someone who's trying to start a business that like, if it's not where you want it to be, then it's your fault. Like it's your fault, and it's because of your leadership or lack of leadership. So that's kind of the mindset that I have, which is pretty extreme. So I'm pretty hard and tough on myself, you know, in those moments where I just think, well, if we're not where we want it to be, no one else is to blame. It's all me. What I learned from a guy, Jeff Duden, is it's all about making sure to always share the vision with the team. So in the all team meetings, I always try to make sure that I speak life into the vision that we're wanting to create. And I think it's also important to be transparent about like the fears and the obstacles, and because, you know, pretending or trying to seem like you have the answer to everything, I don't know. I think it creates a wall, inauthenticity, a lack of authenticity. So I think it's always important to speak life and vision in your team, what we're trying to create, who we're trying to help, what we're trying to impact. And I think that's one of the most important things you can do as a leader. And that was something that I was missing out on for a while because I wasn't intentionally doing that. So speak life and into your vision, things that you want to happen. Put it out there. Put it out there and courageously. That's why I said the thing about CNBC. That's why I said the thing about Forbes. Because none of it's finalized, it's still in the works, but by putting it out there, it starts to create that expectation. And through, you know, spiritual and biblical principles, it starts creating that expectation in other people's minds, where now it's not just me co-creating that reality, the whole team has it. It becomes more of an expectation rather than you keep it to yourself. I remember telling my family, I got it when I was 20 years old. I told them after I interviewed that I got the job at the bank, and I didn't get the job yet. But I was just, you know, I was really into like manifesting a law of attraction. And so I was like, I'm going to get the job. And I went and I told my family that I did. And then I didn't get the job. No, I'm just messing with you. I did get the job. So speak life into your vision. Who does someone need to become? Like if I own one location of a business and I go, I want to build something that Bedros has. I want to build this empire, this portfolio of businesses. What needs to happen to go from here to here?
That's a good question. And so I get that question often, like, who does someone need to become to be able to build an empire, to be able to lead teams, to be able to have big vision? It's not necessarily what you have to add to yourself. It's really what you need to take away, right? When Michelangelo was creating the statue of David. And they said, man, you created this entire statue from one giant slab of marble. Like, how did you do it? He goes, simple. I just removed everything that wasn't David, right? So with his hammer and chisel, he removed every piece of, granite or marble, whatever it was, that wasn't David. And what was left was David. Oftentimes what we need to do, and we talked about this earlier on your show, we have to kill the version of us that is not a great leader. So the version of us that is not a great communicator. The version of us that is afraid of confrontation, the version of us that is afraid of failing. We have to kill the version of us that wants to stay up and watch TV all night. We have to kill the version of us that doesn't want to work out, because look at you, man, you're jacked, and you're jacked. Every entrepreneur needs to be jacked physically, mentally, emotionally. And the reason is it is a tough road being an entrepreneur. In 2020, how about this? In January of 2020, did you ever think 2.5 months later there'd be a pandemic that would shut down the world and affect your business in such a negative way?
Oh, no.
You didn't think of that. I didn't think of that, right? And so all of a sudden, if I'm not mentally, physically, emotionally jacked, like I haven't done hard stuff, I'm going to crumble under that kind of pressure, you know? And so like you have to kill versions of yourself that regular people are allowed to have, that you and I as entrepreneurs can't have. These civilian habits, behaviors, belief systems have to die for you. Then what's left is a visionary who's a great communicator, who can lead his or her team and can execute on a timeline without
family life with all the businesses?
It's hard, man. I think most guys struggle with this, and the biggest advice and this is literally why I wrote The Wealthy Way. So if anyone hasn't read it, go get it on Amazon. It's because I kept being asked this question: how do you run all these businesses and still have time for family and go to church and, stay in shape and play golf? Like, how? And so I was like, well, it's not as hard as you guys would think. It's really a system. It's really the same way we run a business. Why are some guys like, man, I'm working 80 hours a week, and I'm like, I don't even work the weekends. I've never worked the weekends.
Really?
To this whole point, I never did. And people are like, no way. I'm like, I've been doing social media now for you guys watched it. Like, I've been saying it from the beginning. I built the business playing baseball 6 months out of the year. You don't think I could build this business not working weekends? So I've learned how to manage time. That's what it came down to. And I learned how to prioritize the most important thing. I actually read a quote from one of Netflix's co-founders a couple of days ago, and he was the first person to sum up what I've always believed, and I just didn't ever have a way to articulate it. So I took a screenshot of it because I was like, people need to understand this. Let me find it here. I just took the screenshot. Here it is. So Mark Randolph, one of the co-founders of Netflix, said, hard work isn't what makes companies into household names, says Netflix co-founder Mark Randolph. Successful CEOs and entrepreneurs often get ahead because they have a single skill: the ability to prioritize which issues need solutions first. Randolph said during a podcast with Diary of a CEO, I think that hard work leading to success is a myth. If I can be really smart about which problems I choose to focus on, that will make the difference. I don't have to get everything right because most things don't make a difference. Some things do. And that to me is exactly where people fail. They don't understand what is the top thing to prioritize at that moment in their life and their business. And it's always a moving target. And so
all right, so just wrapped up the podcast with Ryan, which was pretty epic. Just awesome to sit down and talk about his journey, how to be more successful. We talked about the real estate market, kind of where that's going, what to expect, just how he scales his businesses, how he hires people. Just some really awesome stuff. I know I got a lot of value. I'm excited to put it out into the world. And then we sat down for, I don't know, how long was that? It was like an hour and a half. We sat down just in the conference room chatting, him giving me advice on my business and kind of unpacking unpacking it and breaking it down. I had already done a one-on-one call with him, and then big news, I'm gonna be working with him one-on-one. So made the investment of 100 grand for the next year. Actually 120 grand for the next year to work with him, which is a scary move, big move, but I think we'll definitely, it's definitely gonna be worth it. And it just shows like the power of making, investments. You gotta do it, even when it feels scary. I'm used to it at this point. I've made so many investments in myself and coaches and programs that there's a certain point, especially if I feel like I've already gotten value out of the person and I can trust them and I know what they've produced, then I feel pretty confident that I'm gonna get an ROI. So, for me, I'm very intuitive, but I'm also very data-driven in the way that I make decisions. I feel like that's one of the things that are unique about me is I do them from both lenses. So ready to rock and roll. And now our Uber's here. We're gonna go get some lunch in this vehicle. Where is it? Let's rock and roll. I think for me, I think what it is it's a moment of leveling up. It's like almost like a video game where you finally get to a new level, and like once you reach that new level, you're not going to go back. Like you always start back now at that level. So I feel like in the sense of like you first get exposed to like a new world and being around those people, where it's like now that becomes like the seeking that out as the new norm. I've been thinking about it the last 6 months, even the last year. I need to step up the circle. Like I need to start hanging around people that are like way beyond my comfort zone and level of like where I am to be able to get to the next level. And one of the best ways to do that is to pay for access. It's the easiest way. I mean, think about it. This whole trip came from me going to that event with Bedros. Like literally, I didn't spend my birthday with my family because of going to that trip. And then having the courage in that moment in front of the whole group when I was on the hot seat to be like, hey, will you come on my podcast? When he was like, hey, you should start doing videos with people with bigger names to attract their audience. And then like, okay, will you come on mine? Secured that commitment right there, boom. And then, the Ryan thing. I mean, he took it down after 24 hours, right? It just shows you like when opportunity comes up, you have to take action right away. It's like you have to be decisive. So like to me, part of this is a reaffirmation of being decisive. A lot of these people at the next level, they have the ability to make decisions and be like, boom, I'm gonna do it. Well, what was I gonna walk out of there? Like I'm gonna think about it? I hate when people say they have to think about it. In like sales situations, I don't like those type of clients. So why do I want to be that client? I mean, I had already pulled it in terms of like when I had the one-on-one call with him and he told me about it or whatever, like, okay, cool, whatever. But like at this point it was like, I mean, if I see the value, what's there to think about? Either you're in or you're out. It's kind of the conversation I have with people sometimes on a sales call, probably too aggressive. Either you're in or you're out. I think that's one of the big takeaways is that you're often sitting in the middle between the decision, between yes and no, and you're just like sitting in no man's land, not doing anything. And everything changes on the other side of the decision, even though it's terrifying. I'm a firm believer that when you jump, the parachute opens. I don't know, it's just always worked out for me. And I guess there's people that it doesn't though, which is like crazy. And that's where it's like, I'm happy that Ryan and I talked about God and went there, because I think it's been such a crucial part of my life, even though I hadn't for many years been religious, so to say, but definitely like a big believer that I was guided in God, and it helps when making decisions. But I've just always had that mindset that everything works out for me, and it tends to. Like crazy story, when Bridget and I booked our trip to that trip to North Carolina, we waited a long time to book it, and so it was a lot more expensive than we had intended. There wasn't many places left, and then the places that were left were like more expensive, and so we booked it, whatever, and we have like a travel allocation where we put like some money aside every month to like start building up like a travel account. It's gonna be well beyond what we had in the travel account. I was like, whatever, you can take it out of savings. But literally like a week before the trip, we get a random tax refund check for like basically the amount that was left to pay for the trip, like a week before the trip, out of nowhere. And when you're an entrepreneur, you file quarterly taxes, so you don't typically overpay because you know exactly how much you're responsible for, because you're filing based off of like what you would owe, and you're just paying quarterly. So it was like somehow we overpaid. I mean, it was just crazy how it worked out. And it was like, wow, that was cool. I think sometimes the act of taking the risky thing like creates the space to have what you want to come in. But it's scary in the moment. You can't steal second without like taking your foot off of first. Like, you got to take the risk. I don't know. I'm pumped, and I'm pumped to just be working with Ryan. It's going to be super cool. I'm really excited. All the most successful people that I know all make investments in themselves. Like, they make an investment working with people, and they invest in their personal growth. They invest in coaches. I mean, you think about the top athletes. LeBron, Michael Jordan had Tim Grover, right? Kobe worked with Tim Grover. Tiger, during his prime, worked with some of the top swing coaches, right? All of these guys, they all have coaches, and they pay them a lot of money. For me, it comes down to, when I'm looking at someone, it's like, have they done what I'm trying to do? Number one. And if they've produced the result in a pretty significant way, then like overall, I'm pretty much already in at that point, you know? And it's just like, do I vibe with them? Do I like them? Do I believe that they could help lead me to where it is that I want to go? And I've been watching Ryan's stuff for a while. You know, I like that he's a faith-based person. For me, that's important. And I don't know. I just vibed with him. It just felt right. Like, I'm pretty analytical, but I'm also intuitive at the same time. And so the combination of, like, if something feels right, like, I'll pull the trigger and I'll take the risk. I'll take the gamble. But for me, it was like, all right, it's gonna be 120 grand over the next year to work with him. I feel pretty confident I will. In the next year, I'll probably 10x that ROI. And what that equates to over the next 5 years is probably much more than that. So to me, it goes back to what Hormozy was talking about, which is like, when you're investing in a program or a coach, you're not putting your faith in them, putting it in yourself. So for me, it's like, I'm gonna make sure I get the value. I trust myself to make sure that it's gonna work, you know? And I think people get in trouble when they're like, this person's going to save me, you know? Or I'm putting the responsibility and accountability on that other person to get me the result. So I'm pumped. Stay tuned. Josh, I guess you and I are having McDonald's for dinner tonight.